So today's message is about the power of prayer, and we've all heard that prayer can move mountains. Over the last 12 months, it's probably been one of the most challenging times in our lives. I know it has been in mine, and it's also been for the clients that I work with around the world, since this has been a global thing that we've all had to overcome, or at least try to overcome. One of the ways that I did it was through prayer, and I'm telling you that I use that power of prayer every single day, sometimes several times a day. So what I want to talk to you about is how prayer works and how we can actually use it in our lives and implement it in a way that it actually works for us. So one of the most important things to remember is the energy that's associated with prayer is a very powerful energy because it comes from God. So first and foremost, you have to have a belief in God, and that for me is where it all starts from. So I like to think of a practice about changing things that occur in our life in a positive way, but using prayer. It's like having someone, a best friend, that you can talk to every day no matter what. You don't have to wait for them to get off of work, but in the shower is where I like to use it the most. So you're standing there in your birthday suit, and it's actually a very cleansing and healing time, both physically and spiritually. So in the morning, in the shower, I get in and I actually talk to myself. A lot of people sing in the morning in the shower. I like to use prayer as my time. So what I do is the night before, I actually write out what it is that I want to pray for, whether it's a client that's sick or something that's going on in my own life. But we are told that ask and you shall receive. Now, a lot of people get hung up in that, and I've got a lot of clients and even myself that have thought about, well, okay, God, why didn't you give us what it was that we were praying for? Well, the second thing to believe in, first of all, is God. Second of all is that when you pray, you're going to be answered, but it may not be in the way that you want it. And I think that's a lesson for all of us this past 12 months, was just because we prayed a specific prayer asking for what we wanted, not needed, God has the decision in that, and He is the one that chooses for us what it is that we need in our life. So a lot of people are frustrated, and they say to me, well, I'm mad at God. He didn't deliver what I wanted. Well, you know what? It may not have been what it is in your life that you need. Need versus want. So God is the one in charge of that. So I'll give you an example. In 2000, I was in a horrible car wreck, and I was told that I needed a double hip replacement, okay? So I implemented the power of prayer, and I learned everything I could about healing modalities, and I worked on myself, and I prayed every single day. I did not want a hip replacement. Well, in 2018, it actually came to the time where structurally and physically I had to have it. I only had one, but I prayed and prayed and prayed that I wouldn't have to have it. Well, that's not what God wanted, all right? Was what I wanted, but it wasn't what God wanted. So what actually happened was the healing process after my surgery was miraculous. I had prayed for a miracle. I didn't get the miracle in the way that I wanted it, but I got it in the way that God needed it to be for me. Now, because of that, I was able to come through the healing process with no pain meds, no pain. Literally within a week, I was discharged from the physical therapy because they said I no longer needed them. My doctors thought it was, ridiculous how I just went through it. But the way I went through it was the power of prayer, and I relied on God every single morning that my feet hit that ground, went into the shower, and I asked for God to help me heal as quickly as possible. And that is what He gave me, because you know what? That's what I needed. Now I'm able to take what happened to me and help others in so many other ways. It's manifested. It's like, breaking the bread and the fish and multiplying it for millions. Well, that's what God does with His energy. When you pray a prayer, it puts power into that prayer. I like to say it out loud because it's called the prayer of decree. Now, a couple things have to happen with that prayer of decree when you speak it out loud. First of all, be specific. Ask for what you want. Ask and we shall receive. Again, maybe not in the form that you want it, but God's going to transform that prayer into what He feels that is needed for you. Okay? So secondly, we have to believe that it's going to be answered. A lot of people pray the same prayer over and over and over again. Well, by doing that, you're basically saying, God, you're not hearing me, so I'm just going to keep saying it and saying it. Well, God hears every prayer that you speak. So putting energy into your words is very powerful. A lot of people in church pray quietly. I understand that. But when you're home and you have the ability to speak it. Write it down on paper. Be comfortable with what you're going to pray for. You don't have to pray for 50,000 things at once. I like to pray for a couple at a time, but you have to believe that God is going to deliver what it is that you're asking for. Again, maybe not in your timeline. You know, we all have our specific ideas of when we want something to happen. Well, it doesn't always work that way. It may be, you know, for me, 18 years later, my prayers were answered, okay? But I then realized why it was that God waited, and He put me through all those steps, you know, pain for a while and understanding what that was like and how to overcome it. It taught me so much about how to help my clients heal as well, not just physically, but spiritually. So trusting that energy that God can move mountains, because He absolutely can. So the other thing that I want to talk about is having those limited beliefs. You're not worthy, it's not going to work out for me, so why bother praying? I want to challenge you to make this an everyday ritual, if you will, of praying, whether it's on your knees or in the shower, whatever works for you, but speaking it out loud is very, very powerful. I also like to put it to music. I like to play music. Sometimes I even dance when I do my prayers. That movement helps just send it out there even stronger. You get connected with God, and it's about that energy that you're connecting to. God's energy is the most powerful energy there is. There is nothing else like it. And just having that ability to spend that time with God, He is your best friend. There is no better best friend. Nobody can answer things for you like God can. We just have to be still and know that He is God. Let go and let God. So when we let go of the outcome of things, everything happens when it's supposed to. And that's a very challenging thing for a lot of people. It has been for me as well. Not wanting it to, you know, if it's not tomorrow, then by God, when's it going to happen? Well, it's going to happen when it's supposed to happen. So you have to let go of those beliefs of not being worthy. It's not going to happen. It will happen, but believing is part of the challenge. The other thing too is when you let go of the reins, so the reins are control. It's like holding back a horse and you're riding a horse trying to get him to stop. When you let go of those reins and you surrender to God, He then can reign in your life. He can reign in your life. He is in charge of your life. We are not in control. That is the most difficult part. Realizing that as humans, we're not in control. So when we step from the physical, you're in the shower, you're in a physical situation, you connect to God through the spiritual, through prayer, and actually feeling that comes over you when you're truly connected. That is a very spiritual thing. It helps you keep that balance between the physical and the spiritual, and it allows you to have that relationship with God and that trust with God. So the more you build trust, just like in any good relationship, the more time you spend, the more trust there is, the more love there is, and realizing that love is the most powerful force in the universe, and God loves us, and He wants to show us how much He loves us. So just trusting that He has our back, and just surrendering into those arms of God, and just allowing yourself to melt into His love and His forgiveness and His kindness. And He will always be there for us. If you put your faith in man, you're going to be disappointed. God is the only one, if you put your faith in, He will never let you down. And that is His promise. So again, ask and you shall receive. I just want to ask you today to take this discipline and this challenge and turn it into a reality on a daily basis. We're at the beginning of the year, getting ready to move into February. No time like the present to ask God to be your best friend. And through the power of prayer, that can be achieved.